Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, and when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. Right now, what's on everybody's lips is what happened with this PPP funds, the Paycheck Protection Plan program, whatever that last P stands for. The idea was fantastic. The execution was tragic. So let us start with exactly what is the Paycheck Protection Program. So this was something that Congress put forth in the CARES Act that was designed to help small business owners stay afloat. Okay, these are loans that were supposed to be given to these small businesses that were forgivable loans, provided some criteria were met, and I do believe one of those, like 75% of the money, went to actual payroll costs to maintain employees, to pay them while they're at home, that kind of thing. But the Paycheck Protection Plan ran out of money in 13 days. So just shy of 2 weeks, $350 billion was gone. And so people are like, what in the world happened to all of this money? And so that's when the headlines came out. Okay. Ruth Chris got $20 million. Shake Shack got $10 million, although it said this morning that they're going to be giving their money back because they secured other funding. Okay, great. Potbellies got $10 million. Taco Cabana, I'm not sure what franchise that is, they got $10 million. And then Fiesta Restaurant Group got $10 million. And so that left small business owners going, WTH. Okay, there was actually something else, but I try to keep it as PG as possible. Okay, so what happened? Well, the Paycheck Protection Plan really was a good idea. But the problem is that when it was released, there was not enough guidance put into place that was really going to help the little guys. Okay. So one of the rules of the Paycheck Protection Plan said that small businesses with less than 500 employees per location could apply. Well, all of these big names, these are franchises, right? So they applied on behalf of all of their locations because each one of those locations has less than 500 employees. So they met the criteria, okay? That was the rule that was written, whether, it is what it is. They followed the rules. So because I see people like, how did they steal this money? They didn't steal this money. They followed the rules that were written, okay? And so that is what opened the doors for these large companies to get all of this money. Then on top of that, again, with not a whole lot of guidance, banks were kind of left to say, hey, we're going to write our own rules, right? So then the huge banks like the Wells Fargo, who's getting sued right now, and the B of A's of the world basically said, okay, there's all of America that are applying for these loans. We're going to take care of our customers first. So they started to set the criteria that you must have a business account, you must have a business loan, or some type of business relationship with the bank in order to even apply. So then if you had the small business owner that's using a personal checking account as a business bank account, that shuts you out. Okay. Then if your bank did not participate in the Paycheck Protection Plan, which there were a lot of smaller banks that did not. So if your bank didn't participate and you had to be a client already of one of these other banks, you were shut out. All right. And so then what happened is, and what Wells Fargo is getting sued for now, is they're being sued because, they're being accused of shuffling the applications, because the applications were supposed to be on a first come, first serve basis. Now, here's the thing. Wells Fargo and other banks, was it Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, these big banks, they basically took care of their best customers first. Now, that is a business decision. Is whether you like it or not, that's what it is. It's a business decision, because even in your own business, whether you will admit it or not, when it comes down to taking care of your customers, you're going to take care of your best customer first. It is what it is. Okay. And so it's because of this that these companies were able to get all of this money first. Okay, that's how this happened. So, so now there's the lawsuits that are happening. There is, people, and especially the small business owners, are ticked. In which I'm like, yeah, be ticked, but definitely learn the lesson. And I'll have to say that in having these conversations over the weekend, some people took some things very personally. This is not personal. And the one thing I always say is you have to learn the lesson. If you don't learn the lesson, you're going to get the test again. Life has a way of giving you the same test over and over until you pass it. Okay. So who else got shut out of these loans? People who were not ready. Okay. When I say people who were not ready, you had business owners whose bookkeeping was not together, whose documentation was not together. Okay. Now, listen, are there people that had all of this stuff together, applied, and still did not get approved? Absolutely. That's not their fault. That's not in their control. But being ready to apply for those things, that is within your control. So if you had to take time to get ready, then you were shut out because that money was gone within 13 days. Okay. It went fast. And I also don't believe that the government was really ready for the amount of people who were going to be applying for this funding. Okay. There was also the economic income disaster loan from the EIDL from the SBA. Again, when it came out, is you can get up to $10,000 directly deposited into your bank account within 3 days. Well, that did not happen, right? And then the rules were being written as we went along, as more and more applications came in, they started writing more rules to where now they went from up to $10,000 to $1,000 per employee, right? And it was also not supposed to be based on credit, but we all know that Small Business Administration was pulling people's credit, okay? So the rules were being written because guess what? When all these systems were overrun, okay, the Small Business Administration's website crashed. The big banks, like I said, they were inundated with all of these applications, so they basically had to put people in a pecking order. That's really what happened, and so now there are talks of a second round of funding coming of another $300 billion from what I saw on the news from Secretary Mnuchin. So now we already know that the first round was exhausted within 2 weeks. So now I'm telling you, if you already had applications that you started, go ahead and finish those applications. If you still haven't gotten your books in order, get your books together so that you can be ready to apply. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. If you have not learned the importance of bookkeeping before now, I'll bet you this will teach you today, because that's what these banks are looking for. They're looking, if you, like I said, you have the banking relationship with them, so they can go and pull their own records and see what kind of deposits you're getting, right? They're looking at your cash flow statements, your balance sheet, your profit and loss statement. And you know what? Having your stuff, just income and expenses, on a spreadsheet is not enough. Like I said, a spreadsheet is where you start, is not where you stay. And so that's where structured bookkeeping is really a benefit to you, so that these types of documents are what banks look for. And not just now, regardless of the nature, if you're going to use your business to fund your livelihood, you're going to have to secure capital for something at some point, whether it is for your business, or if you're trying to get a loan to buy a house, buy a car, whatever. If your business is supporting that, you've got to have this type of documentation to support your business. Okay, so I say that this second round of funding is supposed to be coming. The Democrats, I saw in the news, the Democrats are holding out for federal funding for hospitals and for local governments. So they're working on this deal. It's supposed to be through the House today, the Senate tomorrow, and then ready by Wednesday. But we'll see how that goes. But don't don't bet your life on that. Okay. So, so I'm going to leave some parting words with you, some words of wisdom that I have learned and just in studying over the weekend and just watching people's reactions. And mainly because, you know, as a business owner, you have to do what's best for your business, and you have to learn to manage your business that, you know what, if something like this happens in the future, how are you going to respond? And so, um, a lot of quotes came to mind this weekend, but a lot of them are relevant to now, and it helps you understand how the world works. Okay, the money part. Ecclesiastes 10:19 says, "A feast is made for laughter, wine makes life merry, and money is the answer for everything." Okay. Another quote that I have heard repeated over again: "Money buys influence." Another quote that I got from Ray Higdon, you guys, from many, many years ago. He said, "If you want to get someone's attention, put money in their pockets." What are you learning about money right now? Okay. And then this other one, let me see this author's name. I can't tell you where it is in his book, but I'm reading his book right now. Gosh, I don't want to lose my place, but I guess that's what it's going to have to be. Eunice something. I cannot get to the thing, so whatever. I'll have to find it. But anyway, he said when there are benefits for people and the wealthy are mixed in with poor people, the poor people get pushed out. Okay. All of these quotes came to my mind this weekend as I watched what happened with the Paycheck Protection Plan, and people are like, how and why did this happen? All of these quotes are why these things happen. Okay. Because money buys influence. Okay. And we as business owners, it's so easy to operate in anger. It's like, oh, I'm so ticked off that this happened, this happened, this happened. But when you're ticked off, you got to get out of the emotion and get into the solution part. Okay, that's what we're talking about. And I was also reading about Herschel Walker this weekend. I had no clue that he owned a poultry processing plant in Georgia. And he just said, "Hey, I'm not waiting for the government to bail me out. I'm going to have to figure this out on my own." Right. And he said, because nobody's called me about any money. Right. And so, so I encourage you that as a business owner, that you've got to really take your business into your own hands. There may not be any easy answers. It might be that you have to lay people off. You know what? It is what it is. There's no such thing as fair, right? There just isn't. So, so as a business owner, I encourage you to sit down and, calm your mind and really think about the lessons that you have learned in all of this. Like, there are lessons that I've learned too. And like I said, just as an example, my bank where I have a business account, they didn't participate in the Paycheck Protection Plan. So I would be shut out too. Right? So it's not fair. And so this is why you have to really learn to play the rules of the game, know the rules of the game, and learn to play it better than anybody else. There was another quote that I heard a very wealthy person say. He says, "You know what?" He said, "If you're going to be wealthy, if you're going to be successful, you have to learn how to get rich no matter who's in office, no matter what the rules are. You've got to find a way to make the rules work for you." And so in all of this, these corporations, they did all of those things. They made the rules work for them, and the banks serviced their best customers, in which that shut out everybody else. And that's something else that Herschel Walker said in this article. He says, banks don't remember you in times like this. They do not remember you. And that really stuck with me. So I wanted to share that with you. So that's how this all happened, you guys. It's not right, because that was not the intent, right? The intent of the Paycheck Protection Plan was to help that mom and pop shop that's right around the corner from you, that serves the best sandwiches in your neighborhood. That money was designed to help them survive.